Nice. All right, lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
All right.
Got to open the meeting first.
Okay, welcome, everybody, to June 15th Board of Selectmen's meeting. I'd like to start the meeting out with the Pledge of Allegiance. Steve, would you like to lead us?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
One nation,
Under God,
indivisible,
justice.
with liberty and justice for all. And that means for all. And that's a very important term nowadays.
All right, thank you, Steve. Tony, do you have the,
agenda
yes,
right there.
I see a big, hold on. There it is. All right. Okay. Did anybody have a chance to look over the manifests?
I did not,
Okay.
but there were some weird things in there that that John had noticed earlier.
Anything you want to discuss, John?
I just don't know what it is. Donna doesn't know. I don't think anybody. We're waiting for what Betsy to tell us what that meant or why they did
Right
it.
here
that
it
way.
is. Right here. Look at this, Ben. See these entries that say cancellation voucher? They seem to be canceling out like the subsequent entry or something.
Yeah, but the reason is why.
Was it an order that was placed that was decided to be canceled, or?
Well, we don't know. There's like 12 of these.
Yeah.
See
Chris,
them?
can you
Yeah,
shed some
I'm
light?
trying to find an answer for you.
Just saw it as an oddity from the normal what we see.
Yeah. Clearly a glitch of some kind.
Yeah, I'm sure it's just some kind of a processing thing. It's just good for us to understand what that is.
I agree.
Does that mean you guys want to hold off on a vote on that, or?
I think that's, yeah, I think that's,
I'd rather wait.
Okay.
Has everybody got a chance to look over the minutes?
yes.
Yeah, they look fine to me.
All right, looks good to me. Somebody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes from June 1st, 2020. As were they amended at all?
If there was very little. I didn't.
Lorraine, were they amended at all?
Put as amended. I'm not entirely sure.
Okay.
I'll just put as amended.
Okay.
Okay. So I'll make a motion that the board approve the minutes from June 1st, 2020 as amended.
Is that public and non-public, Tony?
Yeah, I believe so.
Public.
Public and non-public.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye, Ben Bartlett.
Hi, Donna Davis.
Aye, Tony Dumas.
Tyler Eaton.
Hi, John Moran.
Okay, minutes have been approved. Manifest will put on hold. Assigned boards and committees, budget's not in season. Planning board? Anybody? Planning
Yep.
board?
Yep, planning board, they had, let's see, hold on just a second. We had 1, 2, 3, 4 cases, and we had 3 of them showed up. The people from, the Mitchell Road subdivision, they didn't show it, it's continued, but they did receive a letter on their behalf for from the Conservation Committee on some things that was discussed. I'll get a copy to anybody if they want it. And we have a new one which is map 52, lot 6, 85 Deerfield Road, which I believe, I don't know if they'll be coming to us, Chris, for, they may be looking for some something around zoning board of adjustments or lot line adjustment, I don't know. They came asking questions and they're going to be working on it, but I believe they'll at least show up at town hall if they haven't already.
Okay. Anything else on planning board? That was it?
No, just in the one, the Paradise 4-lot subdivision, they were asked, you know, it's had situation with driveways and they had Sean go out and Sean wrote a letter on their behalf. So,
Okay.
That lot, where's that located?
that is map 58, lot 7-1, Poor Farm Road. That's been ongoing for a while.
Yep.
About it.
Okay. CIP, it's season 300th.
I don't know, Steve, you got anything?
We're very much on schedule for the book, cookbook to be released September. That's what the latest idea is.
Nice.
That's good news. All right. Sorry here, my computer's acting up. All right, Marston?
Yeah, I mean, the good news is that we have grass seeded, planted out there, and there's some coming up. The bad news is we need rain. So we need everybody to do the happy rain dance out there.
Donna, will you lead the charge?
I absolutely will.
Okay.
I'll do it live on Facebook, Ben.
If you want, I can, if you split the screen, I can show you a picture of Marston right now.
I think we'll look at that after, Steve, but
Okay, but there is grass, but no,
there is some grass, which is great. The tape that was put up, I think, is down. And I think, Chris, that Courtney was getting close to having signs out there. Did that happen?
I don't think they're up yet. I know they were ordered last week. And as soon as we see them, we'll put them up.
Okay, awesome. So that's it. We're just sitting here, sitting back, watching the grass grow.
Okay. And let's see here. Town administrator report?
I think everything I have, just about everything I have will come up later around reopening and stuff. But the reval is moving forward on close to the original schedule. Avatar will be out in town this week doing external drive-by inspections. You may see their vehicles out and about. I think that starts tomorrow. So we're more or less on track with that process still.
Okay.
And I think that's it. That won't come up later.
All right.
Oh, and I got an answer for you on the manifest.
Okay.
If you want that now, it's checks that didn't print was a printer problem. So when you get into a batch printing deal, you can't reprint the check without canceling it in the payable system. So that's what you're looking at is it's basically a printing do-over for those 12 or so. The
All right.
check number is unique, and
Ben, do you want to circle back and take a motion on that, Ben?
Absolutely, absolutely. If everybody's good with that explanation, I'm good with it.
Yep.
Yep, go ahead, Don.
I'll make a motion. We approve the accounts payable manifests of 6/15/2020 and the payroll manifests of 6/16/2020.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor? I, Ben Bartlett.
I, Donna Danus.
Aye, Tony Dumas.
Hi, Tyler Eaton.
Hi, John Moore.
Okay, manifests are approved. And I guess we'll roll right into action items reviewed from the last meeting. Is there anything that stands out? I mean, here we go again. The computer's acting up.
Hey, Lorraine, moving forward, could you do us a big favor and just, whatever the action items were, can you list them here?
I do list them when I bring them forward to the minutes, but I can't. That's a Kelly question
Got
that
it.
I could ask her to. I could send them to her and make sure that she lists them
Yeah,
Okay.
I think,
because I don't do the agenda. That's what I should have said.
I can do it, Lorraine. I'll talk to her. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
okay. So that being said, I guess we'll just move right into assessing.
Actually, I'm looking at the minutes, and the action items from last meeting was Mr. Sterndale will find out more info about town meeting, because we had questions about the spacing and the basically the logistics for the school. And then it says Mr. McLean will get costs for maintaining Ledge Farm Road. And I think we got something emailed to us on that.
Yeah.
And
Can
the
you get
last,
my board, please?
Say again?
Whiteboard.
say again, Lorraine?
Oh, sorry, didn't mean.
The third item, the last item, was Mr. Bartlett will send the board what he sent out for the community newsletter, which I believe you did. Yes.
Okay.
So that covers
Did
that.
it- Did anybody have a chance to review what Chris sent?
I did. You mean for Ledge Farm?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. About the accident reports, about the cost of what it does.
Okay.
Very
And-
well, pretty well detailed.
We're gonna go over that tonight anyways, Chris.
Yeah, that's road projects on your.
Yep.
Yeah, okay. All right.
So just to be clear, that what we had asked Sean for that Chris sent on June 3rd was the annual maintenance cost estimate for Ledge Farm. That was the action item. So if what you're saying is that we're going to discuss that when we get to road projects, that's fine. But I just want to make sure we reiterate that Chris did get that information from Sean, and we've
Yep.
got the maintenance costs to balance against the other costs, okay?
Yeah. Okay. Any other comments on? No? Okay. Assessing? Going once, going twice?
Well,
No.
we have two. We have an abatement and an intent to cut or excavate, right?
I'm only seeing part of this. I'm sorry.
They came from Kelly. Did you guys see that?
Mm-hmm.
I have the intent to cut.
Yep.
Oh yeah, I have the other one here. Credit for timber tax refund. So that's the abatement, Chris?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so
I'll make a motion that we approve the intent to cut for map 18 lot 15 and the abatement request for map 16, 62 lot 5.
okay, we have a
Second.
motion and we have a second. All in favor? I've been Bartlett.
I, Donna Danus.
Hi, Tony Dumas.
Hi, Tyler Eaton.
Hi, John Warren.
Okay. Was there, I'm only getting part of this here. I'm sorry. My screen keeps cutting out.
Do you, Chris, just quickly on the Avis Rosenfield tax abatement, even though we just approved it, was there a reason why it was such a vast error?
The rate, it was rated as the wrong kind of timber.
Oh, okay.
So, and there's, different qualities of timber get taxed at different rates. And it got put in for one type of material and it should have been another.
Okay. It's just a.
It's a
usually
big
we don't see it
number.
for-
Yeah, I think it's probably a pine versus hardwood kind of thing, or,
Yeah, we usually don't see it for that much of a
yeah.
error. So
Okay. I've lost the screen. Was there another one or was that the only one? I thought there was another one.
We just voted on 2. That's all we had.
All right. Okay. All right. General business, road projects. Chris?
Well, you talked about Ledge Farm last meeting and asked for some more information. I think you have all of that now. Decision path now is what do we want to do this year? What do we want to ask town meeting for on that project? And then you also have what we're thinking for other road maintenance, asphalt road maintenance. Those have gone out to bid to try and see what we can afford. It's primarily the neighborhoods around Nottingham Lake that have been on the list for a while and keep getting pushed back. We probably won't be able to afford everything we asked for bids on, but we wanted to be able to mix and match a little bit depending on what comes back. So no action necessary there. If you're comfortable with that, we won't award anything yet, but that's just what we started with. But Ledge Farm, we do need to decide where you want to go.
Chris, why don't you walk us through the material that you sent us?
You have Sean's kind of guesstimate on what they do to maintain the gravel portion.
Yeah.
And that was, he's got much more thorough data than you're accustomed to. He keeps track of, time and materials on most everything they're doing. So that's a pretty good breakdown of what we did since April of last year, I think it is.
So you're referring to the document that came that said Ledge Farm annual cost, correct?
Yeah, that's a Word doc from Sean, to me from Sean.
Yep.
Ledge Farm annual cost, where he keeps track of his time and materials and put a dollar value on that, and then took a stab at the winter treatment. That's probably a little harder to put an exact amount on, but generally speaking, what they do with gravel, plowing gravel. A big snow event wouldn't be completely recorded here, but
yeah,
this is a good rough order of magnitude kind of exercise for you.
So
if this had not been underway for major work, there probably would have been a little bit more maintenance done. He's not going to sink a lot of energy into something that's about to get redone, but that's the neighborhood, the rough order of magnitude that we're in terms of spending now. And you also got traffic counts and accident data. Accident data comes from the PD. Traffic counts were done a couple of years ago as we started down this road, started on thinking about Ledge Farm as a major project.
Okay, so let's just, for the people who may be watching or listening or will come back and listen and that are trying to interpret all of this, what we're talking about in terms of what Sean tracked for costs was, if you look at just the maintenance, April 2019 to May to 2020, then we're looking at about almost 7K in maintenance costs. And then the winter treatment adds about another 2K in costs, right? And understanding that the winter costs are, weather dependent. Then if you look at the number of accidents as a second data point that we got, there's like 10, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11-ish. And that was 11. That was a 1-year period, Chris, that you sent us or not?
Those start in 2018, probably January 2018. So it's
Okay, so
2.5 years.
it's
The earliest one is February 2018. The latest one appears to be February 2020.
okay. So that's 11 accidents over
2
2
years.
years, almost 2.5 years. Is that a lot or is that not a lot?
Yeah, but you should read some of the accident reports that are on there. I mean, one's a DWI. That's not a. I mean, that's just somebody stupid. Somebody sideswiped a truck. That's somebody else being dumb. I mean, those aren't road conditions. Those are based on just people bad driving. Just throwing it out there.
Yep.
You know.
Yeah, bald tires.
I mean,
You'll see in a lot of the notes that it mentions where there's a good number of them are on the paved section of Ledge Farm.
what is that?
That's the section from Rocky Hill to the square.
So that wasn't the most, because of the curve, that wasn't part of that. So it wasn't caused by the complexity of the roads where the tight curve was. Is that what you're saying, Chris?
Yeah, this discussion is really all about the remaining gravel portion.
Correct.
So while it's good to know about the problems on the paved portion, that's probably not a factor in what you're dealing with now, and that those accidents were going to happen whether we worked on Ledge Farm or not.
So that's the point. It's like if you think about what's the risk of not continuing to move forward, right? The risk isn't there. The risk has been where it was paved all along. And a lot of it, if you look at that list, is caused by, some of it is operator related. A lot of it is, right?
I would read that into the notes. Yes.
Yeah.
I can't speak to the data quality, but yeah, that is a fair interpretation of what you're reading.
That's the story that the notes are telling us. Okay. So part 1 of the story is the accidents. Part 2 of the story is what we have spent on maintenance on the road, right? So correct me if I'm wrong, but the accidents are moving forward not a significant risk factor. The history hasn't shown that, right? The maintenance costs are about 10K based on history. We know there's plus or minus there, right? And then again, help me out, Chris, here, but the next piece of it is the budget and kind of where we want to spend the money, correct?
The Yeah, do you want to move forward? We've got a warrant article pending that would pretty much be dedicated to that road. Do you want to move forward with that, knowing what we know now about the cost of the remainder of the project?
You want us to give all an opinion?
Yes.
You want to be open like that? Because I'm against it.
What was the amount on the warrant article? I'm just looking at that.
300,000.
300,000.
Yeah, I'm with John.
110. Yeah.
I'm with John.
So we're actually looking at spending 410,000.
Tyler, Tony, you want to weigh in?
Yeah, I'm thinking, certainly the accident situation isn't as dire as we had feared. But then you could, flip around and say that maybe it's demonstrating that we've dodged a bullet to this point. But there's no way to know for certain.
Well, the most dangerous part of the road has been somewhat, fixed with that S curve there.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it has created more of a safety, reduced the safety concern in that aspect of things. However, I'm still concerned in regards to the rest of the road as to the wear and tear it's going to cause, because it is one of the highest traveled dirt roads in town. Are we going to be getting phone calls that my muffler fell off my car and they want the town to pay for it, or a wheel fell off because I hit a pothole the size of a crater? I'm conflicted on, do we finish what we started, get to Poor Farm Road, and then wait a few years when things seem to get a little better? Because who knows what's going to happen with this virus thing, whether we're going to go right back into it in the fall. Certainly don't want to put any more expenditures out there that's going to possibly cause our taxes to go up at a time when unemployment is on the rise, particularly our local residents.
Why I'm kind of not in favor of 300K at this time.
Yeah. The accidents weren't the only factor that, brought us here. There's also the dust issue, and then, on some stretches of the road, the ice ruts in the winter and the knee-deep mud in the spring.
But Tony, it's my understanding, I think Sean is actually using different material now in regards to taking care of some of those knee-deep mud situations there. Is that correct, Chris?
Yeah, we've done that with all the gravel roads, but
Yeah.
I think we should assume that the conditions on Ledge Farm will continue to be bad sometimes during.
Well, part of that is drainage.
Yeah, it's road design and traffic volume. We're not going to be able to stay in front of that in the spring when we're feeling it on all of our gravel roads. It is very hard to keep up with it, and the complaints will come. But that.
So
okay.
Chris,
we can live with it.
Chris, I just want to throw this out there. Maybe throw it out to the board in general. If we hold off, further expenditures on this road, do you think that will decrease some of the traffic because people don't want to travel on the road, or do you think the traffic count will still remain the same, or increase over time?
It was worse 2 years ago, generally, when we did those traffic counts, and it was probably the busiest gravel road in town. So poor conditions don't seem to be limiting the traffic.
Okay.
I wouldn't let a road deteriorate for the sake of discouraging travel, but
No, I'm not advocating that. But I think as a board, We have a
It's
due
not a
diligence.
new problem. If
No.
we continue to have problems with it, it will not be new problems. It will be a continuation of the same problem.
I mean, in our current situation or whatever, I would agree with Donna and John. I mean, it's awful hard to, come up with more money at this time, especially. And didn't we, I mean, wasn't it, we had some shoddy work done out there too, right? By this company, am I understanding that right, or?
We have a couple of problems that we're going to fix this spring, but I wouldn't overstate it. It was
Okay,
we had some material surprises. We had some workmanship concerns that are going to get addressed. It's not a unsurmountable problem. It's as a percentage of the job. It's not a big deal.
okay,
We have to deal with it, but it's not a crisis.
all right.
Chris, is there any kind of, so what the warrant article asks for right now is 300,000. Is there anything that you would feel that would be, important for us to do that would kind of help us keep ahead and prevent us from falling really behind that might be less? Like, is there something critical that we should consider doing for like 100K versus 300?
No,
Okay.
I mean, there's a lifetime of asphalt road maintenance to do, but there's no one project that is within reach that would, that 100,000 would
Okay.
make a difference for. I think I hear what you're asking, and I don't think there is an obvious replacement.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
All right, so I'm getting the general consensus here that sounds like the majority of the board is not in favor of this warrant article now. But that this particular juncture.
Yeah, I mean, just to finish my thoughts from before, I certainly don't want to abandon this initiative, but I don't know that it's right to ask the town to foot that bill this year, and maybe even next year. I mean, we don't know where the economy's going to go. So
I would support the idea of not asking the town to go forward with this at this time.
I support that as well.
Yeah, we're between Sean and I, we're feeling like we need to we need to be ready to walk into town meeting saving some money. That's more coming from me than from Sean, but
All the more reason
This is
why
the
I think we should put this on hold.
yeah.
So
Okay.
Chris, what is the process for that? When this article comes up at town meeting, do we, is the motion made and then somebody makes a motion to reduce this to $1 or $0, or how does that process work?
just withdraw the article.
No, it's on the warrant, so it'll have to be dealt with. You could, two options. If you, well, first of all, I think it's important to discuss it in the context of an overall spending plan. So this would probably want to get mentioned early in the first article of the day when you're talking about the budget. Address the town spending plan as a whole and mention it there. And then when you get to the article, you can either table it, move to, it comes up, it's read and moved and seconded. You could then move to table it or move to amend it to $1. Tabling would have the effect of killing it, which is fine. You don't want to amend it to $0 because if we need to spend money on that road, you could run into a no means no, where if you lose a vote to appropriate money for a purpose, you can't spend money on that purpose no matter where the money comes from. So simply tabling if the town is in agreement with where you're headed, simply tabling the warrant article will achieve the desired effect.
Does tabling it also run into the no means no issue?
No, because there was no vote against it.
Okay. So
Well,
procedurally, before someone makes the motion as read, when we get to that point, I guess, Ben, that's yours. You would just make the motion that we table Article 10.
Yeah, yeah.
Is that how that procedurally works, Chris?
Yep.
Okay.
So I just got a quick question. You know, if we're going to table this and not expect to get anything for this road, how are we prepared should we have a major catastrophe, a washout or something on that road as far as repairs go?
We rely on the operating budget just like we do with any other washout, any other crisis.
Okay.
You might explain it to the voters as if you might find that there are people who want to keep working on the road. They want to keep going, they want to spend the money. If that's the case, you could explain it to the voters as, if we adopt this article, we will have enough to finish to Poor Farm Road this year. That's really the choice. We have enough encumbered that we could, with the warrant article, we could get to what we're calling phase 2, get to Poor Farm Road. That's really all that's within reach. So that's really the choice before the voters. If anybody asks, it may not be popular enough, but if it comes up, that's really the choice they're making.
Okay.
Do we need a motion on that, Chris, or have we essentially reached?
No, I think, well, maybe we get through the discussion about the town meeting appropriation plan globally, and then decide what you want to do from there to get ready.
Okay.
This is going to take some pre-education, I think, and we should think about how we explain your change of heart and our change of heart to the voters before they get to town meeting.
Okay.
Chris, because that's a warrant article, it's not included in the total for our proposed budget, correct?
It's not in the operating budget, correct?
Okay. So we don't need to amend that to reflect our change.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else, Chris?
No, unless you have anything on the other, we don't need anything today, but on those other repair projects, if you have any questions or thoughts on that, you can get us offline on the other proposed work. And so that can lead us into discussion of other warrant articles now, if you wish, or we can do that when we talk town meeting and the agenda. They're kind of intertwined, so.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Donna.
Yeah, why don't we just go through the warrant articles since we're there?
Okay. Do you all have I sent you a document titled 2020 Budget Tax Impact that lists the warrant articles.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's a table.
Yeah.
So I don't know, what we have not identified any other changes that you want to come into town meeting with, or any other questions or concerns you have. The warrant is the warrant, so we're marching into town meeting with it as posted months ago. And if there's anything else you want to prepare for that we didn't talk about in March, we should think about that now. But just running through the warrant articles, the operating budget's article number 5.
Chris,
Yep.
if there's some items in the budget that perhaps maybe we should take a look at, maybe putting them on hold, should we discuss that now or at the town meeting?
Yeah, if you want to do that, you should talk about it amongst yourselves now.
Okay. Well, I'd like to propose I'd like to get a general consensus from the board. There's 2 items that are coming up for the highway department. One of them is the utility truck. And and the other one is a loader later on. My thought right now, particularly where, the future is uncertain, we don't have enough drivers for these vehicles, and I don't think it'd be responsible for us right now to purchase another vehicle. Or what'd you say? I think a grader is what, next year or the year after, Chris?
But we're not proposing to purchase anything this year. We just have a deposit into the capital reserve account.
Okay, I thought the utility truck was that next year?
That's in the CIP for next year, but there's the only highway vehicle money this year is a deposit to the reserve account. That's Article 11.
Okay, so the utility truck's next year and the grader's the following year?
I think that's what the CIP had.
Yeah.
when we went through.
I remember that now. What is, that's like a $90,000 truck. What is the board's thought about not adding to that fund this year?
How much is in that fund right now?
34,000. Is that right, Chris?
Yeah, it sounds, we emptied it last year, or nearly, yeah. Yeah, we have I don't have the CIP in front of me, but we have a grader, a loader, and perhaps a utility truck, all aging out within the next 4 years, maybe. This is the same amount that we've put in this fund the last 3 or 4 years anyway. This is not new. This is not a new appropriation or a larger appropriation.
So it's Article 11 we're talking about, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. My inclination is let's leave it to the voters. Voters have the ability to approve it or not approve it or amend it, right?
Correct. If you're looking at CIP items, I think you might look first at the fire vehicle reserve fund, which isn't due to purchase another vehicle for 6 or 7 years.
Would we be doing a disservice to the fire service if we hold off 1 year?
All you're doing is pushing the pain down the road. You're not going to change anything for the department.
What vehicle would this be?
That'll be the replacement for the tanker, I believe, is the next one to age out. That's penciled into the CIP as a quint.
That's the ladder truck?
Yeah.
Anybody have any thoughts on that one?
Might be
John?
2026, 2027, something like that. Like, again, from memory.
I'm sorry,
I agree.
what article number is that?
The
Fire vehicle,
fire-
it's number 8.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I mean, I agree with Donna that, I mean, everything's already, been put together or whatever. I mean, the voters are gonna decide. I mean, it could be many things coming off here, or they could all be fine with them. I don't know. It's gonna be up to them, right? I don't want to change anything. It's already there. I don't know. Can we change it anyways? I mean, the warrant article's already written, isn't it?
You can't change it until the meeting as an amendment.
So we can't change our recommendation. The only thing we could do is amend the warrant article.
Yeah, just like any other voter.
Okay, I say we leave it up to the voters.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah, I agree.
Tyler?
Yep.
What's that one about the independent redistricting commission? What is that? I didn't
So
recall.
the petition warrant article.
Yeah. What are they looking to do? I don't recall that one.
Asking the legislature to form a commission to redraw the lines after the census.
Okay.
So just to clarify, with regards to the highway capital reserve fund and the fire, we're going to let the voters decide. But on the ledge farm, we're going to table that. We in agreement on that?
Were we going to table it or reduce it to $1 so that we didn't tie our hands for an
All right,
emergency?
so, all right, for sake of argument here, and if we're not willing to change or make recommendations for these other items, why are we going to single out the Ledge Farm Road if we're not willing? If we're in the mindset of trying to save some money for the town taxpayers, because the future is uncertain right now, and we're in the middle of a reevaluation year, so chances are taxes will probably be going up. That being said, we owe it to the town, the residents, to ensure that we're being responsible with their money.
Yeah, I get that. I get that. That seems like a contradiction, right? My thinking is that
If we're going to leave it up to the voters for the fire vehicle and the highway department vehicles, then at this point, you should probably leave the Ledge Farm up to the voters as well. Let's not contradict ourselves.
I'm sorry. Was it? Go ahead, John.
Well, we're all independent voters, so we can all speak up our minds and during that meeting. So if I feel like public come out, like I don't believe in supporting it, I'm just going to stand up and say it.
So
Fair enough.
If you don't intend to spend the money that town meeting might vote for you to appropriate, you might want to tell them that before they vote for it.
yeah, the difference for me, Ben, is that I think that we've reached a point with Ledge Farm where, for lack of a better way of saying this, that it's good enough, and that we know that there isn't a significant safety risk based on the data for what we have now. And we know that the maintenance costs, historical maintenance costs, aren't, outrageous, right? So when I put those two together, I'm kind of like, okay, Ledge Farm can wait. Whereas we know eventually we're going to need another piece of fire apparatus, right? So I'd rather be saving for that. Highway department, the capital reserve fund, I could probably be convinced one way or the other. But to me, those are expenses that could, come up and bite us if we don't continue to fund those, versus Ledge Farm, where I think we've reached a point that's good enough. That's the distinction for me.
And we have a strong history, as long as I've been watching and doing this, about adding to these reserve funds in order to keep the cost down later on for the voters. The reason that's why we do it, so that when this big bill comes up, we're not hitting them, or they're not getting hit with a large number because we planned accordingly to spend it.
I have a feeling
that we need.
I have a feeling a lot of this stuff is not going to happen this year. I think the people are going to come out in force and again try to, pay as little as possible. So it's up to them, I guess. So that's the good thing about it. I mean, I don't know. I got a feeling.
But somebody can amend all these articles too at the meeting.
Yep.
So if somebody says the fire vehicle department, somebody wants to get up and amend it to 70,000 or 65, it can be done.
I think as soon as like Quint is even mentioned, I mean, we've seen already a couple times
that was going to be
it's not going to be good.
Well, again, I mean, things can change over years, I mean, there was a lot of objection years ago to it, but that doesn't mean in the 3 years from now there will be,
One thing to consider too is that these reserve fund deposits, those are programmatic expenses that we have done on a regular basis. I don't want to say they're automatic, but they're expected. The Ledge Farm we've been driving that because we've been trying to address the concerns with that road, but because we're driving it for the most part, as a board, as town administration, it's also within our purview to say, let's just hold off a year, so I don't feel that we're being hypocritical by saying, you know, um, let's hold off on Ledge Farm for now and save the town some money. But the reserve funds, yeah, I mean, that can come back to bite us if we start to rely on reducing those deposits, because when it comes time to make the purchases that they're intended for, we're going to have to ask the town to shell out more in that particular year. And those are the spikes in the tax rate that we're, that the reserve fund is intended to insulate them from. So I'm less willing to cut those deposits. And we can certainly say to the town, regarding Ledge Farm, hey, we still feel this is important, but we recognize that the economic situation may not support doing this right now, so we're going to leave it up to you. And if the town wants to wait, we'll wait with you.
So I think if we think about it, I think we're all, and Chris, you can tell me if it's too early to kind of tie this all together, but I think we all have a concern about, in this year in particular, controlling, the tax burden, right? That's a key priority given the.
Well, that should be a priority every year.
Yeah, I agree, but I think it's particularly difficult this year. And we have 3 different levers, right? We can cut money out of the budget. We can reduce or eliminate what we're recommending for the reserve funds, or we can also talk about the general fund. And do we use that as a tool to reduce tax burden this year, right? So, do we all agree that those are kind of like the 3 levers that we have? Whether you agree that we do it or not, those are the 3 levers that we have, right?
Yeah, those are the logical options that we have available to us.
Yeah, so to me, it kind of like, 2 questions I have are, it sounds like we're all in agreement on Ledge Farm, maybe, but the reserve funds, is there any advantage or disadvantage to maybe reducing the amount this year, just because we've always done 100K? What's the impact of saying, okay, maybe this year we're going to do 50K? Or does it not matter if we say, okay, we're going to use some of the general fund to offset taxes, which we did 2 years ago, I think 2 or 3 years ago. I wasn't in favor of it at the time. And in fact, I voted against it at the time. Given where we are, I would be more open to that this year, dependent on where we are within the guidelines recommended by the DRA. So, Chris, is that a logical way of framing this overall discussion?
Yes. And I think you should feel free to take some liberties as a board in recommending to the town how to get through this unique situation where our situation.
How much would we be talking, or we wouldn't know yet in regards to how much to take out of the general fund?
You won't know really until the fall when you have a good picture of revenues.
So what was it the last time? I don't even know if I was on the board then. What do you recall?
What was what?
The taking funds out to help the tax rate?
I think we took 375 out.
Yeah, that sounds right.
That sounds about right, yeah.
Okay, so the Ledge Farm project would be an added expense, right?
Well,
if it's passed.
We always have a road reconstruction warrant article, so, you know, I think it's been 200,000 in prior years, but that's a constant.
So just throwing an idea out there, and I'm not advocating anything, I'm just throwing an idea out there. If we were to recommend not supporting the warrant article for Ledge Farm Road, and then take a portion out of that utility truck, which is set for next year, 90,000, 100,000, pulled off this year with it, you got 400,000 right there.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that's the kind of trade-offs we have to understand, right?
Right.
Chris, to the question of the 200K contributions to the reserve funds, what would be the impact if we reduce one or both of them to 50K?
The impact of reducing the highway probably would not change the need very much. We're probably going to need to request something in 21. So it would push I mean, if it's approved, it would push a tax burden into a future year, next year.
So basically that would kick the can down the road is what you're saying?
Yeah. The same thing would happen with the fire reserve fund, but that wouldn't happen for 5 years.
Okay.
5 years now, the economy could be something totally different, and we could probably make it up. I mean, I'm just throwing it out there that it could be totally different.
The impact will not be felt at all with the fire reserve fund for some time, because we just bought a truck and we don't have anything imminent. That is not the case with highway. And the highway fund's virtually empty. So, you know, we're behind on the highway.
So the highway, just refresh my memory, and for those out there listening, the highway fund is strictly for equipment purchases?
Yes.
Okay.
And you
I
said
think
we only
I'm
have about
quicker to
35,000 in that,
So-
right?
So if we went with what Donna said, okay, and we reduce both the fire and the highway to 50,000, there's 34 or 36,000 in the highway department right now. By the time next year rolls around, the utility truck, which is slated for next year, will be over $100,000. You still will not have enough. And if I think I said this earlier, where we're going to have more vehicles than we do drivers. Can we justify having equipment sit?
I don't know that we're 100% certain what the next vehicle that we have to purchase in the highway is.
Well, the utility truck is the first one, then a loader or a grader, if I recall looking at the CIP.
Yes, if those vehicles last that long.
Okay. Have we explored the option of contracting grading?
Why don't we,
Yeah, yes, we've stuck our toe in that water, yes.
Okay. Just throwing ideas out there, folks. Just throwing ideas out there.
So I mean, kind of what I'm leaning towards now is cutting Ledge Farm, reducing fire to 50K, and then leaving highway as it is. That's just throwing it out there.
I'd be supportive of that.
Yeah, I think that's a good balance of cuts that takes the burden off without hamstringing us next year.
I would like to see to make sure that next year we talk about bringing that fire back up, though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
75 or going back to 100.
yeah, I agree.
What about Ledge Farm though? Is that dead and gone forever, or are we going to?
No, I think we're just hitting the pause button until we can justify that kind of expense.
Okay.
You know, based on how the economy does.
Yeah, we should base on the fact of what the reaction people get when they get their new tax bill on where that's going to sit them.
Is there,
Or give an increase, perfect. If it's gonna be a
is there,
big,
is there anything we can do on Ledge Farm to police again, I know it's either people traveling, instead of going to the highway, they want to cut through Epping, or Epping cutting through Nottingham. I mean, is there anything we can do to control that, or?
Public road.
Yeah, well, maybe a nice giant speed bump somewhere where, I don't know. It just seems like, again,
Got ditches for that, Tyler.
yeah. But I mean, that's what they're doing. They're using it as it's convenient for them. And again, they probably, some of them, many of them don't even live on that road. They just use it for that purpose. So,
I use it all the time to go to Epping.
Tyler, what's your thought on the what Donna proposed?
yeah, I mean, I don't have a problem with it. I mean, it's, again, fire, nothing's due for a little bit, so I don't think it will affect them. And, I don't know the situation with the vehicles, for the highway department. I mean, I know we've got a couple new things, and if they need something, I guess we'll have to get it from them no matter what. But I would, we had talked before about looking at some subcontracting, maybe an RFP or something, I don't know, just when needed. But it's not my forte, so.
Chris, oh, go ahead, Tony.
No, it wasn't me.
Whoever
What?
was. Go ahead.
Tony, do you and I sound a lot alike? Chris, what do you need from us?
Well, I have one more question for Chris. So if we said that now, cut ledge farm, reduce fire to 50K, leave highway as it is, there's still the lever of using the general fund. Is that something we have to think about now, or is that something that we think about at the point of, the prior to the tax bills going out for the second half in December?
You can't, you can talk about it now and you can plan to use it now. And I think you might want to do that, but your formal action won't really mean anything until tax rate setting. The tax rate setting is you take the school's fiscal year, which is closed.
Yeah.
You take your appropriations, which we will get at town meeting, and you estimate your full year revenue in September or October. You guess at what your full year revenue is going to be. We've known for a while that our shortfall is going to be, our financial problem caused by the pandemic is more a revenue problem than an expense problem.
Yeah.
So we probably will not have any great difficulty in, if the operating budget is approved as proposed, we can hit that, no problem. We'll spend under that, but we will be short on revenue. And that is, I think, what you're thinking of for use of the fund balance. I can't give you good numbers today on what that would look like, but I can tell you that you can very likely offset any revenue shortfall with your fund balance without really dipping too hard into it. If you wanted to decide amongst yourselves that our plan is to cover any revenue shortfall with fund balance so that we don't get a surprise tax burden increase in the fall, I think you can have some confidence doing that now. And I think that would probably, I'm getting into the political, but it might make a lot of sense to the voters at town meeting to hear, okay, we're going to make up for the revenue shortfall here, and we're going to propose that we cut some expenses here. That whole story together might make some sense to voters that are looking for a reduction in the tax burden.
So that's what I was looking for, Chris. That's helpful, because then what the whole strategy for the board becomes is, we cut ledge farm, reduce fire reserve fund from 100 to 50K. We leave highway as it is for now, and then we offset any revenue shortfall with funds from the general fund. So to me, that's a solid, well thought out strategy that we're able to bring to the voters of town meeting.
Yeah, I like it.
Good to go with it.
You want to talk, we can't do that tonight, but do this tonight. Do you want a better idea of what those numbers look like from fund balance and revenue? And,
Yeah.
and maybe take some kind of vote to walk in for the voters and say, this is our commitment or our plan or something?
In terms of putting a specific number on that,
Or a ballpark anyway. I mean, I think you can cover the revenue shortfall, but I would much rather you have an idea what that number is.
okay. Okay.
I think there's
that
a
revenue
need to
shortfall is
walk
only
into
like
the
a-
meeting with a full picture.
Yep, I agree.
And honestly, my political worry is that voters that just want to see their taxes going to go down are going to gravitate toward the biggest number, and that's the operating budget.
Yep.
That is a harder place for us to find savings halfway through the year.
Yep. Okay, so you would bring us numbers next time we meet, and we're having one more meeting before, right?
I had suggested we meet a week from tonight to get I needed to hear your direction so that we can turn that into a narrative for the voters, and to go back through each of those warrant articles and think about how you want to explain them. You know, the talking points that we had for March, in some cases don't work anymore. So with your consensus about how you want to move forward, I think we can draft that, but I think it might be helpful for you to meet briefly one more time before town meeting to just talk through that and make sure you're all, even if you aren't all agreement, at least how you talk about it. Maybe I'm overthinking it, but.
No, we can talk about it.
Okay, so the action is, I mean, we are in philosophical agreement about how we're going to use the levers, cutting ledge farm, reducing fire to 50K, leaving highway as it is, and then offsetting revenue shortfall from the general fund. And Chris is going to get us an estimate of that we'll all review and agree to at the next meeting. Is that correct?
Yeah, I'd say, yep.
Can I just make a comment real quick?
Yep.
I'm just trying to wrap my head all around, Chris, what you said earlier in regards to, the spending versus revenue. We have a revenue issue and what have you. It just seems like we have it's not, I wouldn't call it a revenue issue more than a spending issue. If this was a private company, if you didn't have enough revenue, you cut expenses somewhere to meet your budget, make it balance. I don't see that happening here. And as elected officials for the town, we owe it to them to ensure that we're meeting that obligation, that if we have a revenue issue, then we need to find places to cut expenses. And why is it that it's always the town budget that gets looked at when you have the school budget at $14 million? The town budget is 10% of that. And yet we're always the one that has to look at making cuts.
Well, we're not the school.
I understand that. And that's a totally different animal and all that. I totally get it.
So that's something that should be brought up during the deliberation series and when the school budget is brought up. It's not for us to discuss.
I was just using that as an example, John.
I know, but you're using it as a big number. You're putting it out there as a number. So I'm just saying I mean, we got to do our due diligence on what's in front of us today.
Okay,
Not-
so
the school is not an issue
that
for
being
us to
said,
go-
John, our revenues are not meeting the expenditures. That's what I'm getting tonight. So
Sure,
we're gonna pull out of the general fund
a small amount.
to meet the obligation. When we can
small
make
amount in
cuts.
order to- because of the situation we're in. I don't think pulling a small amount, like you want to mention a
But
company.
we don't know what that amount is yet.
Again, we haven't approved it either. That's a number Chris was going to bring up.
To me, Ben, it's no different than having a checking account and a savings account, right? And you put money in the savings account and you pull money out of the savings account when you need to cover things, right? So to me, it's that way. It's not, if I have to buy a refrigerator and I don't have that money in my savings, in my checking account, I pull money out of my savings account to cover it.
And this is not normal practice for us to go jumping into the general fund, which it should never be a general practice. That's why I'm never really for us using that to offset taxes.
Tony, Tyler?
Yeah, I think what we're doing in terms of reducing our warrant article expenditures, that's our cost cutting, right? Because those are the things that we don't fold them into the operating budget so that we can ask the voters. Those are our I don't want to say those are our wants, but those are the things that we put to the voters, right, to let them decide on which of these big ticket items they want to spend. And generally, they're always, the voters are typically supportive of the things we put forward. But I mean, we're going to make this effort to reduce the fire reserve fund just for this year, and table the Ledge Farm Road, and I think that's a responsible amount of cost cutting, given the reduced revenue scenario. And I know what you're saying about the school budget, but that's.
I know, it's a different animal. I was using that as an example. That's
Yeah, it's totally out of our.
Yeah, no, I get it.
Out of our control. So.
Tyler?
Well, I mean, I got a vision of what's going to happen the day of town meeting. I don't think anybody's going to be too happy. I really don't. I don't think anybody's going to come in saying, "Oh yeah, we made it through this. Let's spend the money that's allotted or whatever." I think we're in for a rude awakening coming from the voters. I really do. So.
You think they can stomach spending this amount with the future being so uncertain?
Well, I got a feeling not what we're talking about. That's going to be nothing to what they want to do. I think these warrant articles could be defeated, left and right.
All right, I understand what you're saying, Tyler. Okay.
I mean, I'm not, and again, when I was on the board when we did that to offset taxes, and I thought it was a very good idea. We had the money. And again, I mean, that's the one thing that I think, the residents of our town, I mean, they like to see the taxes, stay as low as possible. And it, I guess, I look at some communities, their taxes are higher, but they offer a lot more services. And, I don't think we're not there yet to do that, or
No.
But
No.
I don't know. I just in talking with people, I'm not talking about anything about the board or anything like that, but just, how things are going with the economy. And some of us have been fortunate enough where we, you didn't lose a paycheck, but some people haven't worked, and
Right.
and even, they got the extra money for unemployment, but the taxes are going to come due on them too. So I don't know. I'm going to sit back and wait and see what the people say.
Yeah, I think, to Chris's point, I don't think the expenses this year are either between the budget or the warrant articles, they haven't grown on the town side, which is the only part we have control over. They haven't grown significantly. It's the risk is the revenues, right? That's where we're taking the hit.
Yep.
And that is where we can leverage the general fund, which is, that rainy day fund. I mean, with John, I haven't been a proponent of using that to offset taxes in the past, particularly for this reason, right? So that we would have it in times like this. So.
Yeah, but as you look at here, if we take out the highway construction fund, we reduce the fire and stuff like this, I mean, we're going to get our rate down to, 1.5 or actually a little less than that, it looks like. Which isn't a big change in a budget for a course of a year. Especially when you're only talking about $4 million. 1% is not that much of a increase. I think if people read it, it depends on how you read it and how you pitch it. You tell people that you're only going up 1.2%, on a $4 million budget. That sounds great. So, it's again how people interpret it. I think it's good. I'd have talks with anybody that thinks differently, but we'll see how that happens.
So how do we get to alignment around what this board is going to recommend?
I would say leave it up to the voters. I'm with Tyler on this one.
A few minutes ago, I think you had a consensus on
Yeah, taking the fire to 50,000.
proposing amendments to a couple of those warrant articles, right?
To two of them.
Yeah.
Putting $1 or tabling the 300 and going fire to 50.
Yeah.
And we can explain the reasons for both of those without having to go. We have nothing coming up for fire. We already expressed that. So that's why we felt the need that, to drop that a half. And then the fact of the 300,000 going to Ledge Farm, we didn't feel this year was the necessary year to spend that. That's how I'd say it.
That's where I'm at too.
Yeah, and I'm fine with that because at the end of the day, the voters can always say, we don't want you to reduce anything. Get the work done.
Absolutely.
And they can vote for the full amount, it's not likely to happen, but the pendulum could swing either way. We're still, regardless of our recommendations or otherwise, we're still letting the voters decide.
Yep.
So, go ahead. Go
I
ahead.
agree. I agreed with that when we talked about it earlier. I'm just saying, again, I don't know, we can recommend whatever. I don't know. I got mixed feelings on how it's going to go, but I got no issue with that scenario. So.
Ben?
I think you have it, Ben.
I'm sorry, Tony, what was that? Or John?
I think you have it.
Yep, you have it.
Okay. We moving on?
All right, so I will get you some numbers and we will discuss a week from tonight. Is that where we're leaving that?
Yes, please.
Okay. That is helpful. Thank you.
Ben, Sandy has raised her hand.
Okay, go ahead, Sandy.
You have to unmute her.
I don't even see her. Tony, do you see her?
Yeah, I see her.
Can
Sandy
you?
guessed.
Sandy, I think I just unmuted you, or you can unmute yourself.
You there, Sandy?
You know,
She's there. Her volume might be down. Sandy, why don't you type your question in the chat window? There you go. Type it in there and I'll read it out. All right, she says she has some questions about Article 16 and 17. And just so you know, those are citizen petitions. They're not put forward by the town. That was me to Sandy. It says there is no tax impact and no cost amount listed. Okay.
Yeah, those are petition warrant articles, not ours. We wouldn't do that.
And does the board have anything to say about that? So are you basically asking why it doesn't list a tax impact or a cost amount listed? Any recommendations? She says. The board typically does not make a recommendation on citizen petitions. She says, yes, that's what I'm asking. So she's asking why there is no tax impact or cost amount listed.
Yeah, you covered it, Tony. It's like, it's a petition warrant articles. We don't edit those, we don't change those, and we typically don't make recommendations on them.
There's no tax impact estimate because there's no dollar appropriation for it. Only things that raise and appropriate a certain amount of money have an associated quantified tax impact.
Does that answer the question, Sandy?
Did we lose her?
No, she can't. For some reason, we can't hear her, so she's typing her.
Yeah.
She's typing out her questions. All right. She says, so the board has said that the annual cost of Ledge Farm is $68.85 before winter events. So can you tell the citizenry that there is no additional cost to the article? Which article are you talking? Are you talking about Article 10 now? Oh, she meant 16 and 17, she says. So you're saying it sounds like you're asking about future costs for these roads if they're accepted as town roads.
And that's not
Yeah.
something we've explored, Tony,
Right.
right?
Say again?
That's not something that we've explored.
No, but I mean, it's not to say that there won't be future costs on any road that becomes a town road, but the petition warrant article itself only asks for the town to accept it as a road, no more, no less. So, like Chris said, that doesn't create a request for a budgetary appropriation. The act of saying, yes, this is a town road doesn't cost anything. It's simply asking the town to make a choice. There's no dollar amount attached to that. Okay. Again, doesn't mean there won't be future costs, but there's no cost attached to the act of accepting the road. So that's why there's nothing listed there.
Correct. The assumption is that there will be, because it would become a town road and it wasn't a town
Right.
road before, so that there would be some cost moving forward. But that's unknown, right? Because we don't know the condition of the road or anything like that.
Right. Does that answer the question, Sandy?
Yes. Is that what she typed? Yes.
Yeah.
Primarily it does. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you, Sandy.
Thanks, Sandy.
Are there any other questions? Okay. Where do we go from here, Chris?
I think I have enough on that
Okay.
subject, unless you have other things. I have enough to keep moving forward.
Okay. So we'll, safe to say it's to move into reopening plans?
Okay, not too much to deal with here, but just to give you a quick update, with appointment-based stuff here in this building, it's working so far. I mean, we've only been at it a week. Town clerk is very happy with it. She's reporting that the people that make appointments are very happy with it. We, obviously haven't had any crush of people using that system, so it's been effective in limiting the numbers. Haven't heard that people are having trouble with any of the online services, so so far so good with that. Talked with Lori a little bit about maybe maintaining some kind of appointment-based system into the future once we get a little bit more experience with it. I don't think we're ready to open the building wide open for all comers. We just don't have room in that office to for the crowds that come and want to do renewals in person. The other offices are pretty well available. The appointment system is there, but staff are being quite flexible with having people come into the building when it's convenient for them. Demand for those kind of things have been pretty low around planning and zoning or assessing functions. Those things are all we're keeping up with those pretty easily. The town beach has been the subject of a lot of interest. We've heard from the state finally they intend to open on Friday. As I wrote to you late last week, what they're going to do is use their day pass system. They're going to sell tickets to use the park beach. It's available to campers starting Friday, as well as to the public on a day pass basis. They have more campers on the weekend, so they're gonna sell this weekend anyway 100 passes for beach use each of the 2 days this weekend, and see how their social distancing holds up at the beach with those numbers. And things have been generally quiet on Round Pond, and we haven't had any rescue calls in the park. I think as other options are opening up for people, and as things get slowly back to a little more flexible, people have a lot more options of things to do or things to fill their time. So it's we seem to be, knock on wood, through the worst of that. We had said around Memorial Day that we were really worried about opening the town beach before the state park beach. And I think we're ready to open the town beach that same day on Friday, if you're okay with that.
I make a suggestion.
Yeah.
The town beach looks like it could use some nice sand. It looks very grassy and not well maintained.
You know that world better than I do. What kind of permitting do you need to put sand on a lake beach?
Well, there's certified sand that goes on there,
Okay.
and you can get it locally.
You need a permit or anything?
I don't think so, because you're not adding it to the water.
Well, not directly, but
I think the PLIA could probably give us some guidance on that.
yeah, I'll get some authority on it, and we can certainly look into that.
I mean, because it looks pretty bad.
Okay.
If anybody hasn't been there to see it.
Chris, I'll talk to you offline in regards to the sand.
Okay. So we don't have lifeguards. We don't have a camp program using the beach because we can't transport the kids to the beach. So we don't have lifeguards. So it's just like it typically has been the last several years on the weekends, use at your own risk kind of arrangement. We've got some new signage coming, but same rules apply. You have to have a resident sticker to park there, and the PD's ready to, at least go through there when they can. We don't have anybody we can station there, but I think we're ready to try that opening on Friday on that basis, if you are comfortable with that.
Hey, Chris,
yeah.
just given the way that the weather is looking, and the fact that it's looking like it's going to 91 starting on Thursday, is there any risk on our part of opening it up Thursday instead of Friday?
Probably not. No, I'd have to just check in with the operation side of it, but no, in principle, I doubt there's a big difference.
Yeah.
Don't we need to also bring a porta potty down there?
Yes, I think we intended to do that. We haven't figured out how that's going to get cleaned and how often. That may also be a use at your own risk kind of thing. We're not going to be able to maintain a COVID protocol cleaning on that, but we could certainly get one there to be available. I know that's on Courtney's plan. I just don't know what day.
Would we contract Emma's?
I think Emma's does do that. Yeah, Emmy. Yeah.
Emmy, sorry, whatever.
I believe they have done it the last few years. Yes. So that, if you're comfortable with that, that's where we're headed. And I know people will be excited to get back over there. And then lastly, your meetings and meetings of other boards. The only piece that we haven't figured out is what we're able to do from either a TV broadcast point of view, or what we do if we have, say, partial boards, some members that are remote and some that are in person, or other participants. We haven't figured out the technology on that. Tony, I know you'd responded with a short note to me on that. But I think we can probably be ready for meetings that we don't expect a big turnout on anyway. We can be ready a week from now for you to meet in person if that's what you want to do. I don't know what your various comfort levels are about coming into the building, and you know how far apart you want to be from each other. And then the other boards we've started talking with. We might think about using the gym for some of the larger meetings and boards, but we haven't figured that out 100% yet. I think that's all I have. I welcome your input on where we're headed.
The beach too.
Pardon me, Tyler?
There's a question for somebody. I think it's Dawn Fernal that she just had her hand raised.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, Don. We hear you.
Hi. Hi. Quick question. Joe and I are here. I know you're all aware of a little incident on June 4th at the town beach, which obviously I recognize personnel matters won't be discussed publicly, and I'm not asking to. It's more in regards to, we were told to speak to the Board of Selectmen that you all were instructed to remove even Fernalds from the town beach road and the property adjacent to it, which actually belongs to my mother and father-in-law. I know my mother and father-in-law went down and spoke to the chief of police. I just want to make sure that's been resolved, because I don't want my daughter threatened to go to juvie if she's found walking on her grandparents' property again. As the board, I was understood that the board perhaps didn't realize the property, that the town beach road was actually Jim and Linda Fernald's land, as is all the property to the right of it.
I'm aware.
I was not aware.
Yeah, I wasn't aware either.
Just want to make sure that it wasn't, because we were told that it doesn't matter, that we have permission to be there, that we are to be removed as well, even when the gate is closed. Is that a position the Board of Selectmen is taking, or a misunderstanding?
So Don, I think it's something that the board needs to discuss. This is the first time we've met since June 4th. And I think, as Tyler and I just said, you know, we aren't aware of the ownership down there. So it'll be part of the discussion that the board has in non-public.
Okay, and when will we be somehow notified of this situation? Or I guess in the interim, you aren't telling us we can't be on our own property.
Well, I don't think we have the authority to tell anybody they can't be on the property.
Okay. Well, unfortunately, that's what we were told, that had given the authority to do that. So I just want to make sure, as long as we are we know where our property line is. So as long as we are on it, that it's not going to be an issue. We don't want our kids concerned about it.
Yeah.
It's a
I
stump.
think it's just Don. I think it's just a misunderstanding where the road is and the actual town beach property is. So.
Yeah.
Because it's
Yeah.
very clear on the town maps and TAC maps where it's listed who Spurnall's properties are, and it's listed on there as property lot 21, town of Nottingham is the town beach. But you can't get there unless you cross your road.
Correct. The entire road. Yeah.
Yeah.
Correct.
And I had made a suggestion just offline about adding some more signage, not on the road, but on the boundaries on the trails, such that people are aware when they're leaving town property and entering private property, just for, to protect the landowners, protect the people involved, so that they're aware that they're on private property at their own risk, and so on and so on. So we'll be talking over,
Yeah.
options
That'd be excellent.
like that tonight. So
Yeah.
hopefully
No, my
that'll-
kids, we all just like to do the loop. Like, I'm not talking about going on town beach. I understand that town beach is closed. We're just, again, we have a loop that we do. We go up Town Beach Road, we cut to the right onto a trail that cuts all into my in-laws' property, come out in the driveway. So
Goes
I just
over a
want to make
nice
sure.
wooden bridge.
What was that?
Goes over a nice wooden bridge.
Well, we cut the trail before that. We don't always go over the wooden bridge. Sometimes we do, yes. But yeah, we just want to make sure that's still fine, and that was just more of a misunderstanding than anything.
Yeah, that's what I would say. Hey, and if all goes well, I think our beach might very well be open on Thursday. So
Well, let's hope so. Kids are all crossing their fingers and toes. Thank
Yep.
you, guys.
you're welcome.
Any other questions out? Anybody have any more questions? Okay, was that it for the reopening plans?
That's all I've got.
Okay, town meeting prep?
Okay, I think we probably have some election officials with us. Let me look at the guests here. Yes,
We
we
got
do. I
We
see
got Bonnie, we got
moderator and a couple
Diana.
supervisors. Excellent.
and
So,
Yep.
last meeting, you said go figure out what we can do to hold this date. And I've been working with the election officials and the school officials. I think what we can do, we haven't figured out a lot of the nitty-gritty details, but with some combination of socially distant seating and non-distant seating in the gym and the cafeteria combined, I think we can get at least 140 people in there, maybe more, depending on how many people want to be 6 feet away from other households. We have, again, not the details, but the concept of an audio-visual plan that will allow everybody in the cafeteria to see and hear what's going on in the gym and vice versa. I've brought in an AV guy who's working with Kevin and Brian over at the school. We seem pretty confident in being able to pull that off. We will have to figure out exactly where the various functions take place. I think the gym layout probably stays similar to what it is now. We haven't figured out where to put the lines and the ballot boxes exactly, but I think we can get there. And we'll have to put some thought into traffic flow. I think probably using the hallway for some queuing up. We have 3 ballot warrant articles, so there's going to be a lot of people moving around the building, and we'll have to structure that in some way. We can offer masks to everybody. Hopefully the weather's nice. We can open the building up and blow some air around. It gets a little stuffy in there. We'd like to move large volumes of air if possible. Trying to think of we've heard some concerns about bathrooms. I'm going to ask if we can get access to more than just the standard 2. I'm trying to find ways to make people feel comfortable with coming. I know there will be some that may not be, but we're certainly open to suggestions about other ways we can make it comfortable. But I think we can pull it off as long as we don't have 250 people show up.
Chris, when you say distancing and non-distancing, do you, I mean, I know we're going to have some people who want to wear masks and some people who prefer not to wear masks. Are we trying to provide the distancing for both of those groups or just for the groups that aren't wearing the masks?
Well, ideally we'd provide distancing for anybody that wanted it. Yes, there will be people who are not as concerned about that, don't want to wear a mask.
Yeah.
I think Bonnie's with us. She would prefer that we just segregate those without masks. Sorry, not segregate, but physically separate those without masks from those that do wear masks. The math I did was basically seating people by household. Yeah. To get 6 feet around each household, and a household is typically 2, maybe 3 people, and then using another part of the room, perhaps the bleachers, for denser seating for folks that don't need that kind of separation.
Yeah. And then what would the flow look like, do you think, coming from, because people want to get up and speak. So what would that flow look like coming from the cafeteria into the gym to do that?
What we're shooting for is to allow people to speak from the cafeteria and be seen in the gym.
Oh, okay.
So you wouldn't have to move. If you wanted to talk to the whole room, hopefully we can arrange it so you can stay in the room that you're in. Yeah. The cafeteria will have some big screen TVs and a microphone and a camera. That's the ideal at this point. So you don't have to move around to speak to the whole room.
Okay. And then the moderator has the opportunity to call on people from both rooms, or? Yeah,
she's going to need to see both speaking points to know when there's somebody that wants to address the room. So we'll have to have cameras in both that are visible to her. If we can't pull that off, then we'll probably do 2 microphones, one very close to the cafeteria, so that you don't have to go.
Got it.
Maybe poke your head through the double doors between the rooms and speak from that point. If we can't pull off the technology simply.
Okay. And do we have? Will we have like enough of a supply of hand sanitizer? I noticed you can get it at Hannaford again now.
Yeah, we've got a few hundred masks here in the building. We'll have hand sanitizer. We might be able to find some gloves. I think I have to talk to the folks handling the ballots and things. Are they're the biggest risk point. They have to swap with everybody. So I think we're okay on supplies. It'd be best if people brought their own. And we're going to need to do some public education over the next couple of weeks about what people should expect.
There's nothing wrong with strongly recommending everybody wear a mask.
Yep.
I mean, are we going to limit it to registered voters? I mean, not that, we usually have the kids, and I mean, I hate to see somebody not come in because somebody that's not a registered voter. That's not right. I see you putting thumbs down. That means no, Bonnie?
It's against the law. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I don't understand it though. Why is it against it? If somebody wants to vote.
It's a public meeting and anyone may attend. Otherwise, Gunnar couldn't be there, okay?
I give up my spot.
Pardon?
My spot if they like. Does that mean I don't have to come? Do I have to come? It's a public meeting. I mean, and all these rules that they have.
Attended by anybody.
I just went to a meeting in the town of East Windsor, Connecticut last week, and the town actually came into the facility set the building up 6 feet by 6 feet by 6 feet or whatever. And, it went well.
Great.
But no food, no drink, none
We're
of
not
that.
having any of that either. We're not
Okay,
having
good.
any of that. No
Do
tables.
it outside to the soccer field. That'd be better, probably. Everybody outside.
Be better air.
It's hard to plan on that when you don't know what the weather's gonna be though,
I
unfortunately.
know.
It is difficult. You'd have to pay for one of those expensive tents. So,
Bonnie, anything else you want to,
can I like chime in when I have things to say here, or what I feel like it's your meeting? Are you including me yet, or do you want me to wait?
Mind if we keep Bonnie in since it's relevant, since she is.
So normally before town meeting, you and I have a little meeting and you tell me who's gonna move each item and who's gonna second it. So that can be done on paper. Maybe Kelly can just send it to me. Do you know what I'm saying? You know, Donna?
Yeah,
Who
Yeah,
moves
I mean-
each article?
yep,
Speaks to the article.
yep, Chris has got that, so they can send it to you.
Okay. So, and while I'm on that topic, is this your last meeting before town meeting?
I think we agreed we're gonna have a special one next Monday.
Okay, just good to know in case something comes up.
Yeah.
And I just want to also mention that I did run the questions by the Attorney General, Nick Chung-Yen, who is the Assistant Attorney General in charge of elections. And I had two questions for him. One was when Chris was gung-ho to have the meeting in the gym before the governor lifted the 10-person limit. I asked him the question, would he be prosecuting us for that? And if so, would he be prosecuting you guys or me?
What was his response?
He laughed. It was sort of a joke. If he just said the selectmen, I would have felt more comfortable though, but it turns out the governor saved us. I mean, Chris Sterndale sometimes seems to have secret information into what's going on. So the governor lifted that and that's not an issue any longer. But I also ran by the question of segregating the seating. I actually like that term, Chris. Maybe it's my early in West Virginia. Segregating the seating according to who's wearing a mask and who isn't. So I think that anybody who's wearing a mask who does not mind sitting with people who aren't, that should be fine. But anybody who's wearing a mask and doesn't want to sit by those people breathing their little breath droplets on them should be allowed to sit in a segregated area away from those people. And I think also we should strongly encourage everyone to wear a mask and should provide them. And I'm not, one of the issues of the whole election crew are the protective equipment for the officers. And I'm gonna is Dee still here?
Yes, I'm here.
I'm done. I'm gonna let Dee take that point because she's better at those kinds of details than I am. And I know she's been looking into them. But what Nick Chung-Yen said about segregating the seating is that we are not in any way infringing or limiting anyone's right to participate in the meeting. And that's important under the law. Given the climate of the times, given the public health thing, asking people to sit in separate sections is not infringing on their rights and should not be an issue. Just so you know. I mean, he never comes out and said, yeah, that's a great idea, but he said, under the law, this should not be a question that anybody can really raise and get any traction in any court of law, because we're not infringing on their right to participate in the meeting. I have sent out a letter to the inspectors of the elections, all of them asking for I was hoping to get a response from everybody by today, but I haven't checked my email. Honestly, I've been gone most of the day. I haven't checked it since the latter half of the day, just to kind of get a sense of who's willing to work and who isn't. And I'm getting a lot of thank you, but no thank yous, just so you know. I'm getting some people that are saying, yes, I will. Because we're going to try to have at least, we're going to have 2 checklists. We're going to split the checklist. Normally, we only have 1 at the meeting, just to move these votes through faster and to sign everybody up faster. Because my goal and my hope is that we will, as efficiently as possible, deal with the business of the town and disperse. Because the shorter the meeting is, the safer it is. From everything I read. So I'm not having any tables of anything. Everybody that comes to me for, wanting to sell tickets to a quilt raffle or promote environmental causes or any other great stuff in town, I'm not allowing any of that for this meeting, so you know. So I'm gonna cut out all the frills, including lunch. So that means we have to get the warrant done, or we're all gonna die of hunger. But maybe having some kind of a little snack in your pocketbook or your pocket is not a bad idea. Maybe we'll take a short break if it looks like it's going to drag on and on. My sense, however, from just polling the workers is that a lot of the older people are not going to come, or people with underlying medical issues, or people that are, for example, taking care of their 8-week-old grandchild. There are a lot of different reasons why people are going to say, I'm sorry, I can't participate this year. Okay, so one other thing that I wanted to just have a little quick chat about came up in your discussion tonight, and that was when John said that he was going to speak against one of the articles, and I forget which one it was, Ledge Farm maybe. It's really irrelevant which one, but I just want to remind you that under my rules, you may not speak from the table as an individual. You're certainly welcome to speak and express your opinion. Every one of you are. But if it's not a decision of the board, either by consensus or vote, then I ask you to have the courtesy to go down with the people. Say, these are my thoughts on this. I do that. I've done that myself, only once maybe, because I have to put somebody in my place when I leave, but you all don't. You still have a quorum up there if one of you goes to the microphone. So feel free when you're speaking for yourself to go down to the microphone.
Bonnie, if I could just, one comment on that though. A year ago or 2 years ago, there was a warrant article that was on the ballot that the board voted 3-2, recommended based on a 3-2 vote. And people did ask the two people who voted against it, who were myself and Charlene, why we voted against it.
Mm-hmm.
And they directed it to us, and we responded as select board members sitting at the table. So that's different.
I totally agree with you. That is different. That is different.
Yeah.
They were asking you in your capacity as a selectman.
Correct.
Each of you, we all do. Everybody that works as an election officer, and you all are, has their own opinions about everything. And you're entitled to those opinions, and you're very welcome and encouraged to share them with the meeting as a member of the public. But when you're speaking up at the table, you have a big soapbox. And I don't think it's fair for you to have an advantage over the people because it's their meeting. But you're welcome to be one of them. You are one of them. You wear two hats. So that's just an awareness I wanted to share. I know John is a relatively new selectman. And it didn't used to be the case in town, I think, till I was moderator. But it seemed to me that you have more influence over the public than the rest of the people do when you're speaking as a member of the board, and you should. But when you're speaking for your own opinion, then you're a member of the public. Does that make sense? Does that seem fair to y'all?
I know enough meetings. Thank you, Bonnie. But understand.
You understand.
Very
I do the same thing. Most of the time I don't say anything because of my position, but the one or two times I have, and other people on the board have done it too, have gone down to the mic to speak to express their own opinion about a subject matter.
I have.
It's perfectly fine. Donna has, yeah.
Okay.
So that's it, and I'm just throwing out the worker response that I'm getting. I've still got my fingers crossed that I'm going to have enough people. I've had a discussion with Dee about that we probably should have a few more people than we normally have, because I'm going to need people to help count, and I won't be able to see in the cafeteria. Even, most counts you can see without counting. They have to be close for me to count them, but I can't I can't see in the cafeteria all of it. Chris said that, part of my vision will be obstructed by some of the walls. There's only like 2 doors there. So we're gonna need people to count every vote, the voter cards.
Can we help with that, Bonnie, or no?
No.
Okay.
It has to be inspectors of the elections or assistant moderators.
Okay.
So it's a moderator kind of job. You actually can count the ballots, but you can't really count. Well, that is the counting the votes. Let me think about that. Actually, probably could, but it's not a good idea.
Okay.
Because these people are more neutral than you are. You're up there promoting most of the things on the warrant, correct?
Yeah. Well,
And
yeah.
you just want to create.
We've certainly put them forward, except for the petition ones. We've certainly put them forward.
Right. And you represent even though you're not the budget committee, you explain a lot of the things on the budget. You have the knowledge that the people don't. You should share that knowledge, but then you want them to be sure that the vote count is totally neutral. I usually have some nice people who work on the election crew do that, and it's going to be whoever shows up. These people already know how to count, and I'm not sure that you guys do.
Oh, Bonnie, I learned how to count in 5th grade.
I'm only teasing you.
Hey, another question though for you is, we've got 3 things that have to be secret ballot. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And how is that going to flow for us, like time-wise?
I think we're going to, if we need to, put the line for the secret ballots out the door, down the hall, which means we'll have to have a little break during the beginning of the voting until most people are done, till the bulk of people are done.
Yeah.
There might be people floating in. Some of them, I need a ruling from the town attorney. I've already asked Chris this about, do each of these have to be open for an hour?
Yeah. And did they have to each, like, one opens, one closes, the next one opens, the next one closes?
No, I mean, I think we can stagger them. But
They can't be done concurrently.
Yeah, actually, we would need the space for it. And I can see D looking. D, you can just go like this, or can we do 2? Can we do two runs of voting at the same time? Yeah. So we'll probably like stagger them half an hour.
Okay.
Most of the people are through, start the next one.
Okay, good. Yeah.
So we're not sitting there for an hour waiting.
Yeah. Okay.
And
good.
it'll be and having 2 lines will make things move a lot faster. And other than when people check in and we have to find their names to make sure they're on the list, once they have their voter card, we're not going to be looking for their names on the list each time. They're going to show us their voter card. We're going to mark it so we know that they got that, they voted in that particular question. And then they could go back and get in the line and come through for the next question if they wanted to. They can't do both at the same time, but we could do one and then they could go in the line and, if it was that fast.
So do you have to have separate boxes, Dee?
Yes, we have 3 separate boxes and we have different color yes, no questions.
Yeah.
So that so if somebody did put them in the wrong one, we'd be able to move it to the proper one before it was counted.
But each box is going to be labeled, this is for question 1 and question 2.
Yeah, I don't know if it's specifically labeled that way, but I know that the town clerk has that all, we have all that stuff together to be able to do that stuff. Yeah.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Are you talking about the 3 wooden boxes? No.
No, we just have paper boxes that we're going to tape closed, and there's a slot in the top of it so that we can just put them in, and that way they're easier to manage.
And it has the color card taped to the top so that we know which vote it is for.
The green vote.
Thank you, Joanna.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yep. Yep. So the major thing is that where people put their ballots in has to be in view of the moderator. So it has to be in the gym. And while the checklist is being used, the supervisors have to be able to see it and be able to participate in the meeting at the same time. So all of that stuff has to happen in the gym. So we were thinking about using the double doors and have people go line up down the hall and then come through the doors based on the letter of their alphabet.
And there need to be somebody out there keeping them moving.
And then we'll need people out there keeping them moving, exactly. But hopefully we can get most people through in a half hour or less using the breaking it up into the 2 lines. That's the goal anyway. We'll see how many people show up.
It'll be interesting for sure, right?
Yes.
Will be.
Yep.
Strange times.
Hi, it's Lorraine. I just thought I would ask this question at this point. Who does those minutes? Because I'll let you answer that before I say
Who does
anything.
what minutes? The town meeting minutes?
Yeah.
Town clerk.
Oh, good. So that's not me. Okay.
No,
Just- I didn't think it was me, but all of a sudden
You're
I'm
off the hook.
a little worried. Okay. Thank you.
Yep. So Dee,
Yes.
do you want to talk about PPE?
I would like to talk about PPE because that's one of the things that we've been hearing from most inspectors of election and ballot clerks and supervisors that, people are going to be counting on, is the town providing the PPE necessary? They're going to be using, touching the ballots, they're going to be touching the checklists and stuff. So they all want gloves. I've got that handle. We've got gloves left over from town meetings, so that's not an issue. We need to make sure that they are, 8-foot tables, one on either end, if we have to have them balanced. But everybody is asking about masks and face shields, and they really want both. They feel most comfortable being that close to that many people a number of different times that everybody is requesting both masks and face shields. I don't know if face shields are something that we can get a hold of right now. I've seen them on Amazon, but I don't know how, who needs to order them. We'd be looking at 4 ballot clerks, 3 supervisors, plus, depending on how many sections we have, maybe 8 other counters. Is that about right, Bonnie?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
What are you saying is the total?
4, 8, and 3, so maybe 20 max.
20 masks and 20 face shields, or just 20?
20 maximum. 20 masks and 20 face shields maximum.
So I don't think the counters need a face shield, the counters of hands. They're not getting that close to them. The counters, the people guarding those ballot boxes, when people are putting their things in, yeah, those would be assistant moderators and other inspectors of the.
How many do you think, Bonnie?
I think probably 2 for each box, then we might have 2 going at once, so let's say 6 to be safe. Better safe than sorry.
Okay, so
There.
6 plus 2
four ballot clerks
and 3 supervisors.
Yeah, the supervisors, that's your count, so that's up 13.
That's 3.
That's like 15, be safe.
Okay.
So
And
order.
I have to receive the amendments from whomever proposes them. They have to put them in writing and bring them to the moderator.
Hey, can we just go back to Dee's comment? So, Chris, is that something you can look into?
Yeah, the face shields we haven't really shopped for, but we'll jump on that tomorrow.
Okay.
Thank you, Chris.
Already sent the note.
Okay. And we have quite a bit of hand sanitizer leftover from the election in February for ballot clerks. And we have gloves left over from the election as well. So the only other thing is masks.
Okay. Anybody else have anything?
So are we going to have a mask for everybody who walks in the door? That's what they do Today I had to go to the Exeter Hospital. When you come in, if you have a mask, they take it away from you, or they make you put it away and they give you one of theirs. So everybody has the same quality of mask.
Fair enough.
We have enough to give everyone that needs one for sure. They're generic state issue paper ones. I think people would probably prefer their own if they have them.
I am going to require all workers to wear a mask or a face shield, which is not something I told them in my letter. I'm not expecting any, cranky people who say, I don't want to wear a mask, as a worker. But I think.
Can you do that, Bonnie? You can require them?
As long as I'm not infringing upon their right to participate in the process, if I may quote Nicholas Chong Yen again.
So.
And I require their workers, okay? They work for the moderator or the supervisor, or the supervisors. And as an employer, you can have rules, right?
That is correct. That is correct. You can require employees, and if they're contractors, but they are still paid by us. And so, yes, we can require that they wear them.
I don't want somebody sitting there representing the town, breathing their breath droplets out at everybody who walks in. That's not.
Okay, so somebody, again, I'm not challenging, I'm just clarifying. So somebody who has respiratory issues or something where they could not wear one for that amount of time we would not want them to help.
I would say that most of those people are declining my offer of employment anyway.
Fine, okay.
Because they are already in higher risk than normal.
Fine.
And honestly, with a lot of research that I've been doing, face shields do not replace masks. You need to, if you want to be fully protected, you need to wear both. So if somebody says, well, I'll wear a mask, but not a face shield, in other things that I'm doing, the mask is the more important piece of equipment.
Okay, so I think, Chris, where you were headed is that we have no preference whether people are more comfortable wearing their own masks versus making everybody wear one that the town provides.
That was my initial thinking, yes.
Yes, that was my thinking as well.
I think that may be true for the general public. I'm not sure it should be true for workers. What do you think, Dee?
Well, I know that it is in the guidelines from the Secretary of State for supervisors when we are meeting with voters to register, whether it's in person in the town office, in the parking lot, or otherwise, that both the voter and the supervisor wear a mask at all time when they're in contact with each other.
Okay, so I think what Chris is saying is that we'll endeavor to get masks and face shields for anybody who's working the election, but as far as anybody who's attending, we'll have some, but it's their, that many will want to bring their own and wear their own, but we'll have them for somebody who doesn't have them but wants one.
I don't have a problem with that.
Is that correct? Chris, did I interpret that correctly?
Yes.
Okay.
Great.
Anybody else? No more questions, comments? Thank you, Bonnie. Thank you, Deanne. Thank you, Joanne.
I just wanted to say one more thing quickly, and that is that both Deanne and I, and probably Joanna and Ruth Ann, have been to meetings over this, lots more than we normally would be. I attended most of the meetings of the Select Committee of the Secretary of State, and they met for 4 weeks, I believe, 3 times a week, from 2 to 4 hour meetings, 3 times a week. It was quite grueling. And a lot of information was shared during these meetings, and the committee has made a recommendation to the Secretary of State. It's on the Secretary of State's website if you care to read it. I must confess I haven't read it yet, but I intended to today, but didn't get to it. So there's a lot, even though the governor is allowing groups of more than 10, many people just feel like it is too early to be out at a meeting like the town meeting. I'm hearing that a lot from workers, just so you know.
It's a tough one for sure.
Yeah.
Yep, it sure is.
Okay.
So thank
All
you.
right. Right, thank you, Bonnie. Chris, anything else?
No, I think we have what we need to keep moving.
Okay. So, review actions items for the next meeting. What does everybody like to review?
Well, Chris has a couple of to-do items, but I
Yep.
don't think, I'm going to look into any, as far as our future meetings, I'm going to see if I can find a way to tie together Zoom with our TV broadcast, which was one of our limitations before. That first time we worked with Teams,
Yep.
Chris and I had to voodoo together a couple of speakers and a microphone and whatnot so that the audio went out over the TV, but the quality was just, So I'm gonna look into some options there, but I'm not optimistic given the nature of our broadcast equipment. So, but that's my action item.
If you had to choose between a live Zoom broadcast and a live TV broadcast, which would you pick? I'm not saying
Well,
that's a choice we're faced with, but is that something the board wants to answer?
well, the problem is if you do a live Zoom broadcast, you're disenfranchising people who either don't have a computer or are not savvy enough to navigate joining a Zoom meeting, right? Whereas the television, you turn on the TV and you go to channel 22 and there we are. So,
But we're doing that now, Tony.
Disenfranchise is a strong word there.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
yeah.
we're doing it now, Tony.
We are, but I mean, we are able to do this because of the emergency declaration. It's considered an outside of the normal circumstances type action. It's not. This isn't how we would normally do business, the
Yeah, I
business of our-
would argue that we're still kind of in that tough situation. The bigger challenge that I see is that we couldn't, like, we would all have to be on our own Zooms in the same room, and then you've got the audio challenges, right?
Right, the feedback and the screeching and the
Big challenge to me.
that's an issue as well. So that's why I'm not optimistic, because there's every possible combination of solutions has an equally daunting set of challenges. So I'm not really sure. I have to chew on that some more.
Spoken like a true IT guy.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Hey, did you reboot that?
Yeah. Hey, Chris, question for you. So the stay at home has been replaced with safe at home, right? Essentially.
Yes.
What about the state of emergency? Has that been lifted?
No.
Okay. I didn't think so.
No, that is the trigger for a lot of the financial mechanisms. So that could be in place for quite a while.
That's why I was asking. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Somebody want to we want to adjourn the meeting? Go into non-public?
Yep. What letter is it going to be, Chris?
A and C.
All right, I'll make a motion that the board enter non-public session for RSA 91-A:3, section 2A and B.
And
C. C
I'm
is in
sorry.
Charlie.
Correction, 91-A:3, section 2A and C.
I'll second it.
We have the motion in a second. All in favor? I, Ben Bartlett.
I, Donna Danis.
I, Tony Dumas.
Hi, Tyler Eden.
Hi, John Moore.
Okay, we'll be entering the non-public. Thank you, everyone, for coming and listening from their homes. We'll be coming out to adjourn when we're done with the non-public session. Thank you, everyone.
Good night.
Right.
Thank you, guys.